Good evening and welcome to the June 18th Walnut Creek City Council meeting. I'm going to start with welcome and an introduction. The City Council is conducting this meeting from the City Council chamber. This meeting is being video streamed and can be viewed live or later on the city's website. Some attendees may be participating in their first Walnut Creek City Council meeting. I want to welcome everyone and talk briefly about public comment process. For each agenda item, there will be an opportunity for public comment on the item. Thus, if you desire to speak on an item on the agenda this evening, please hold your comments until the City Council considers that item. Additionally, we have a section on the agenda titled Public Communications, for which public comments for items not on the agenda. Any comments during public communication should not relate to an item that is on the agenda this evening. Consistent with Section 9.5 of the City Council Handbook, 30 minutes will be initially allocated for public communications for items not on the agenda. Additional time for public communications for items not on the agenda will be provided at the end of the open session portion of the meeting if necessary. If you desire to provide a public comment, please complete a speaker identification card and line up behind the lectern at the appropriate time. Wait your turn, and when you approach the lectern, please state your name, city of residence for the record. You will have 2 minutes to address the council. Please keep in mind that this is a city business meeting. The City Council has adopted rules of decorum to ensure that meetings are conducted efficiently and effectively, and that all members of the public have a full, fair, and equal opportunity to be heard. The City Council Handbook outlines decorum expected in the City Council chamber and can be found on our website. All remarks should be addressed to the City Council. Please do not use threatening, profane, or abusive language which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the City Council meeting. Again, each speaker will have 2 minutes to make your remarks. Written comments submitted and received up to 2 hours before the meeting have been posted to the city's website for review and are included in the meeting record, but will not be separately read into the record. All righty. And now, will you stand with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I please have the roll call?
Absolutely. Councilmember Francois?
Here.
Councilmember Silva?
Here.
Councilmember Wilk?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Darling?
Here.
And Mayor Haskew.
Here. Okay, and next on the agenda is a proclamation for Juneteenth. So, in September of 1862, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, officially ending slavery, changing the status of more than 3.5 million enslaved African Americans in the Confederate States of America. On June 19, 1865, 2 years after signing the Emancipation Proclamation, Union General Gordon Granger arrived at Galveston, Texas, to inform the enslaved African Americans of General Order Number 3. The people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them comes as between employer and hired laborer. Juneteenth, also known as Juneteenth Independence Day, Emancipation Day, Emancipation Celebration, and Freedom Day, is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. Juneteenth represents freedom as well as how the emancipation was tragically delayed for enslaved people in the deepest reaches of the Confederacy. This is a painful chapter in American history that also serves as an opportunity for us to recommit ourselves to combat all forms of modern-day slavery, human trafficking, and racial injustice, as well as to continue to fight for freedom. In 2002, the state of California passed legislation officially recognizing June 19th as Juneteenth National Freedom Day to celebrate African Americans' significant role in the history of the United States and society through their steadfast commitment to freedom and equality. Whereas the city of Walnut Creek commemorates the anniversary of Juneteenth in recognition and celebration of the great contributions African Americans have made to the United States, California, and the city of Walnut Creek. Now, therefore, I, Luella Haskew, Mayor of the City of Walnut Creek, on behalf of the Walnut Creek City Council, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth National Freedom Day, and encourage the community to honor and reflect on the significant role that African Americans have played in the history of the United States and how they have enriched society through their steadfast commitment to promoting unity and equality. And we have somebody who will be receiving this proclamation, so please come forward.
Thank you.
And who's going to speak?
Oh, we have to speak.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Mary usually does, but Mary's out of the country.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, say what Mary would say.
Well, I think Mary would say thank you very much for this recognition and proclamation, and we really appreciate the opportunity to be able to accept it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Betsy, are we still doing pictures? No, okay. Next, I have two proclamations that will look remarkably the same, so gratefully for you, I'm only going to read one. Whereas in the 1960s and 70s, Walnut Creek was experiencing major growth in commerce and housing, several forward-thinking citizens believed that natural beauty of Mount Diablo should be preserved for future generations. Thanks to the collective wisdom of a number of Walnut Creek residents and civic leaders, an effort was launched to take on the daunting task of acquiring land we now know as Walnut Creek Open Space. Those citizens formed a committee to get a bond issue passed and set about convincing people to voluntarily tax themselves $35, currently $205 in 2024 per year, and in additional property tax to pay off the bond issue required to purchase the property. Incredibly, the R8 bond was passed and over 33,000 acres of land were purchased and amenities to improve the open space were added. Lime Ridge, Shell Ridge, Sugarloaf, and Acalanes became permanent parts of the open space thanks to this bond issue. The Walnut Creek Historical Society will have a summer-long exhibit highlighting the milestones and events crucial to the success of the Open Space Foundation's mission in preserving the city's natural environment. This exhibit will pay tribute to the community activism and participation that enabled the purchase of so much land, and the City of Walnut Creek appreciates the Walnut Creek Open Space Foundation for its commitment to ensuring our parks remain their near-natural state, and Walnut Creek Historical Society for preserving the history to the public. Now, therefore, I, Luella Haskew, Mayor of the City of Walnut Creek, on behalf of the Walnut Creek City Council, do hereby recognize Walnut Creek's Open Space 50th anniversary and thank the citizens who supported the bond measure and those that continue to advocate for our open space as we look forward to the next 50 years. And I do have two proclamations. One's for the Historical Society, and one is for the Open Space Foundation. So would anybody who would like to help me give these away, please come forward. Okay, here's yours. Here's yours. And each of you get to say something if you want to.
Sure, I'd love to say something. We are excited to participate in this celebration. We've had a great time collaborating with the City of Walnut Creek, with the Open Space Foundation, with the Rangers, of course, Mike Vickers, his assistant Belinda Tan. We have Jackie here has worked diligently to put together a fabulous exhibit, so I hope everyone has the opportunity to come to our museum. We have the Lindsay Museum with their taxidermy animals on display. We have Valley Art actually a gallery from Walnut Creek, beautiful paintings. I think there's like 20 or 25 paintings, the whole bottom floor. And there's just a lot of fun facts, photographs, and just interesting things. So hopefully you'll come and check it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Wait a minute, whoa, come back, please. Please return. We have a question from the council.
So where is this exhibit, and what days of the week and hours of the day is it available to the public?
Thank you for reminding me. So it's the Shadelands Ranch Museum. We're at 2660 Ignatia Valley Road. That's where our Walnut Creek Historical Society hosts all of our events and houses our memorabilia. And Jackie is our office manager, and our hours are still just Sunday and Wednesdays, 1 to 3, 1 to 4. Sorry, but there's a special event coming up Thursday. We have our wine and history night. So I put some flyers that Jackie brought on the back. If you're interested, you can come see the exhibit. You can listen to our Ted Dobbs from our board. We call it the TED Talks of the museum, and he'll be discussing all of the open space history and touring people around the house and wine.
Well, it sounds wonderful, but if I'm not here in the room to get a flyer, how can I find the information?
On our website. So the website is www.walnutcreekhistory.org.
Is it Walnut Creek History or WC History?
Sorry.
WChistory.org. Yeah. You've heard it here, WChistory.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you please come forward.
Thank you. Mayor Haskew, city council members, I am Kym Smith. Oh, sorry. I am Kym Smith, president of the Walnut Creek Open Space Foundation. On behalf of the foundation's members, their volunteers, and the board of directors, I thank the citizens of Walnut Creek for this proclamation. It's a testament to the thousands of volunteer hours and other contributions our organization has given to preserve and enhance the Walnut Creek open space, and to our efforts to encourage the community to engage with this unique resource. We also want to thank the city for the support we've received over the years from its open space division and other city agencies. We're committed to continuing this fruitful collaboration with the city in the future, further enhancing the open space for public health, vitality, and quality of life. This year, the Walnut Creek Historical Society, the city, and the foundation will have a number of special events to celebrate the 50th anniversary. Please check our websites for details. We're wcosf.org. The open space is one of the things that makes Walnut Creek special. Enjoy it, learn about it, protect it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right, next on the agenda is the consent calendar. Does any council member wish to pull an item?
Yes, I'd like to pull items E through I for a comment.
Thank you. And is there anybody in the public who wishes to make a comment on any item on the consent calendar? Seeing no one, may I have a motion?
Move to approve items 2A through D and 2J through L.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Francois.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilk.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Darling.
Aye.
And Mayor Haskew.
Aye. All right, those who have pulled items get to tell us why.
Thank you very much. I pulled items E through I this evening because they represent 5 contracts with our 5 very important miscellaneous employee groups. And I want to thank the 280 employees that are represented by these 5 units for, first and foremost, the hard work they've put in through the last 5 years of their 5-year contracts. And in particular, because that was during the time of COVID. And it was double the amount of work on every level across the organization. So I want to thank our employees for that. And then I want to thank them for working collaboratively with us over the last few months on reaching an accord on these 5 new 3-year agreements. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to move the item.
Would you please?
Second?
All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Silva?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilk?
Aye.
Councilmember Francois?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Darling?
Aye.
And Mayor Haskew.
Yes. Okay. Next on the agenda is public comments, communications, and I read a whole bunch of stuff about this. I hope you all remember it so that I don't have to repeat it again. Okay. Would you please come forward and sign a card if you have something to report or make a note of? Thank you. Hi.
Hello, my name is, my name is Pete Bennett. The council has heard me speak probably 50 or 60 times. They're well aware of what I've gone through. My story is very bad. I have lost friends, family, girlfriends, roommates, others, police officers that I've worked with. They're all dead. I'm here. I started this in 2011. I've been beaten up in Walnut Creek repeatedly. I've had my ribs broken by a library guard. I had a guy try to strangle me to death on the library floor. It's pretty bad. I've asked for my police reports. Nothing. Nothing in 10 years. I'm caught up in a big public corruption case involving police officers that have been indicted or convicted. To be in these shoes is very difficult. Nobody in the room likes to hear this, but nobody in the room is helping. I have a website that you're going to learn a little bit about what I've been through, but I'm going to be very nice to the department. It's called walnutcreekpolice.com, and I'm going to share what I've been through. It really is kind of unacceptable to be beaten up in the library by a guard or by a suspect that nearly strangled me to death, and I was blacked out on the floor. It's getting old. Although things are better now, I'm living in Concord. I've had a long journey with murders and arson, extortion, and racketeering. WalnutCreekPolice.com and my other site, BayAreaHomeless.com, which I'm building out to help the homeless like me. I live in the shelter, finally, after 10 years. Difficult. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good evening, council and staff. My name is Bill Whitney. I'm the executive director for the Contra Costa Building Trades Council, and I'm here tonight to speak about a upcoming complex construction project that you're going to be talking about in the not-too-distant future out there at Heather Farms. I'd like to ask you to consider putting that under a project labor agreement. I think if you bring in skilled and trained people, you'll see a project that gets built on budget, on time, that gets built right the first time, and it's built safely. When you bring in skilled and trained workers with a PLA, you're also supporting the youth of your city. We spend nationally, North America, over $2.5 billion in educating the next generation of skilled and trained workers. So we create opportunities. By your considering doing a PLA, you're creating opportunities for the youth that will be the craftspeople of tomorrow. We also, through our organization have a helmets to hard hat, so we create opportunities for veterans to come in and work on construction projects that heretofore did not exist. We also have local hire. Many of our people can live here, and you know why they can live here? It's because they're paid wages and benefits, and those wages and benefits are paid on public works jobs as well as private jobs, so they can afford to live in this wonderful community, which I grew up in, went to Ignacio Valley. It's a great city, and I hope that you'll give us some consideration on that, because local hire, what that does is it creates an opportunity for those people that are earning their wages to spend their money locally. So you get this a ripple effect into your economy, because people that live here locally spend their wages locally. They'll buy their food here locally, et cetera. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Annette Ramirez, Teamsters representative, and I'm here tonight. The purpose of my presence is to thank you all, council and mayor, for acknowledging the importance of our safety dispatchers and our city workers with a fair contract. We just finished that, and we're very thankful for that, that you truly showed that you cared and valued their hard work and dedication, and this will help with retention. In return, we expect that they will continue to work hard and dedicate their time for this wonderful city. So we thank you again, and we appreciate your acknowledgement. Thank you.
And thank you for all your hard work.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Chris Palomo, and I'm a field rep with the NorCal Carpenters Union at a local 152 in Martinez, representing all of Contra Costa County. First, I'd like to thank you guys for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm here to talk to you about the current PLA that has been brought to your guys' attention tonight. While I believe the PLA is a significant step forward for the betterment of the workforce in Walnut Creek, I urge you to pause these negotiations until the Carpenters Union has a seat at the table and has taken an active part in the discussions themselves, and not just asked to sign it once it's complete. The Carpenters Union is responsible for the general contractor and more than 50% of the work on construction projects in our community. Excluding such a vital group from these negotiations undermines the fairness and inclusivity of the agreement. It is crucial that our expertise and concerns are a part of the dialogue to ensure that the PLA truly benefits all workers. The PLA is designed to protect workers' rights, secure fair wages, and maintain high standards on the job site. However, these goals cannot be fully achieved if the largest group on the projects are not being represented in the negotiations. By having the Carpenters Union involved from the beginning of the negotiations, we are promoting transparency and inclusivity that builds trust and cooperation between all parties of the agreement. I'm respectfully asking the City Council and staff to not move forward with the PLA negotiations until the Carpenters Union is actively a part of the discussions from the beginning until the end. Our participation is essential in creating a successful agreement that serves the best interests of the entire workforce and our community. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else coming forward?
Hello, yes, my name is Tom Hansen. I'm the business manager, IBW Local 302, and also the president of the Building Trades Council. I apologize for the carpenter's behavior just recently. This is not something that should be brought out in front of you. This is an internal matter. The Local 152 of the carpenters quit the Contra Costa Building Trades some time back. They left of their own accord. We represent all of the workers that the PLA would cover. We've always allowed them to sign it. We always allowed their language into it. We represent all of the trades workers. Not every single local union sits in the negotiations, so it's improper for them to ask to be there. We represent all of the people that we cover under the PLA, so we believe that we've always treated them with the respect and dignity that they deserve, and it's inappropriate for them to come to you before you on this when we were trying to work together for the betterment of all workers, and for them to do this is embarrassing for us. So we're sorry that they came and did this.
All right, is there any other person looking to come forward? Seeing none.
Mayor, I have a question for the city manager. How does it typically work when we've got a city project, which I don't believe I've really been on council for something for certainly this large, like the Heather Farm project. How does it typically work when we're looking to have discussions of who the labor is going to be?
In the past, the city has not entered into a project labor agreement, and we have issued requests for proposals or requests for quotation depending upon the type of work and have solicited bids from the work. You know, historically, Walnut Creek has encouraged union participation of the general contractors, and Walnut Creek, you know, being a public entity, is required, those that work are required to pay for prevailing wage.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure I understand the disconnect between some of the speakers that we heard, but I would ask that, and I don't know if we need 3 approvals on this, but I would ask that we at least have the discussion with labor, whether it's for a project labor agreement or how we can work with labor in this kind of an instance for the Heather Farm project. At least go into those discussions and hear a report back on how those would go.
Yeah, I would support that as well. And maybe if I could reframe it, I think my request of staff would be to understand kind of what the options are in terms of a project labor agreement, and maybe not choosing sides between the carpenters and the trade council, but just kind of what the council's options are for proceeding with that sort of agreement for this project.
And I think my interest in it is it's always on a big capital project, schedule, budget, and deliverables, and how would this effort work with that and either keep us on, you know, how can it help us get to schedule, budget, deliverables?
But of course, we have limited amount of money, so what would this potentially do to the estimate of costs?
I think that's all important to understand.
What I'm hearing from council, if I can summarize, and Mayor, I don't know if you wanted to add anything or not, but is direction to staff to research options related to project labor agreement relative to the project at Heather Farm, which is the Aquatics and Community Center, and to report back to council with pros, cons, cost impacts, and give you the general lay of the land. If amenable to council, I'd recommend we do that roughly by the end of the calendar year so that an informed decision could be made before we go out to bid for the project, which we're hoping to do first quarter or second quarter, calendar quarter of 2025.
Would that entail then meeting with people within, whether it's building and trade or?
I mean, we'd be researching information. We may talk with various folks. I wouldn't want to limit who we talk to or not talk to at this point. We would do adequate research and report that back to your council.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And I think my interest in this is, you know, schedule is important, and what would it take? I've heard different things, and I'm curious about that issue particularly.
Okay, is everybody in council comfortable with where we are? Thank you. We will now move to the next item on the agenda, which is closed session announcements. City Attorney, please.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, there was no reportable action from closed session this evening.
Thank you. City Manager.
I do not have an update this evening, Mayor.
Wow. Let's see. Let's start with Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, a whole bunch of fun things going on. We are celebrating the 50th anniversary, and I think most of us were at the Historical Society event. And my family and I walked over to Borges Ranch on Saturday for that and got to do a bunch of fun things there. I was at the farmer's market the Sunday after the accident, and it was really heartwarming. The farmer's market team had a basket there for people to drop off condolences to the family, to the 2 workers who had been injured. And I did manage to go around and talk to some of the folks, and they had already done a good job of going through and talking to their different vendors. But it definitely was one of those moments where you pull together as a family. I did get a chance to go on a closed-toed shoe walkthrough of Original Joe's and Pinstripes, both opening downtown here in the near future. And Angela Sway came with me, and that was really exciting. The Original Joe's folks and Pinstripes are both so excited to open up.
Can I ask, what's the timeline on those?
The Pinstripes was much further along. They were waiting for one last permit, and they were assuming August. Original Joe's had just got their construction permit. They had to go drop off a big check, and they were going to get a permit, and they were going to start construction. So they have finished their demo, but they're a little bit out beyond Pinstripes. Let's see. We all went to Civic Affairs and had
Tim Hale.
Tim Hale. You're really much better at names than I am. I'm like, okay, the tall guy that talks really excited about traffic, but he talked a lot about transportation in Contra Costa County, and that was really great. And then we had the free shuttle at Shadelands. Many of us were there because there was free Cali craft beer, and so of course we will be there. And cookies and beer, not the best combo. And that was really a lot of fun. And it was great to see those new buses with their wraps and see the changes coming at Shadelands. And the last thing I did was kind of a fun thing. It was a throwback to the old days. There's a group out at Rossmore that wants to do there's a bigger watershed management plan going on for the Walnut Creek watershed writ large. And they are the Friends of Tice Creek, which is a small group interested in what can they do to better conserve Tice Creek where it runs through the Rossmore community. So I put on my old funky hiking clothes and went and talked to the Friends of Tice Creek and talked to them about watershed management, and that was a lot of fun. So that's what I've been up to.
Next, the other Cindy.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. The Ruth Bancroft Garden recently opened their annual Sculpture in the Garden event. It was last Saturday night. I want to congratulate them and just tell everyone you can visit the Ruth Bancroft Garden and not only enjoy the dry garden experience, but also the outdoor artwork that is on exhibit and can be purchased as a fundraiser for the Bancroft Garden. The Sculpture in the Garden event is ongoing through August 11th. Walnut Creek Downtown will kick off the summer this Thursday evening with its annual Uncorked event, which is Sip, Savor, and Stroll in downtown from 5:30 to 8:30 this Thursday, what's today? The 18th, so it's the 20th, June 20th. And for more information, go to walnutcreekdowntown.com. I agree that the Shadelands kickoff of their new branding effort was exceptional, and I really appreciate the colors. They're vibrant, they're vital, and they exude vitality. That's an inside joke. For those who were here during that whole conversation, the congratulations to the Walnut Creek Historical Society and the Walnut Creek Open Space Foundation and our City Open Space Division for a great kickoff for the 50th anniversary celebration and the Borges Ranch Day. I did not walk from home to get there, but I did enjoy getting there. And finally, I will mention that last week I was in the Sacramento area for the summer leadership meeting for the National League of Cities. There were about 300 to 400 of us there, and there were a number of interesting presentations, but one of which was on housing, the unhoused, homelessness, and how the collaborative series of activities that Rancho Cordova does in that space. And I think there's some interesting opportunities to learn from them. And thank you, everyone.
Kevin, please.
All right. At our mayor's conference last month, I was appointed to another term as the Family Justice Center representative and liaison. The Family Justice Center serves families affected by domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, elder abuse, and human trafficking. Think of this as a way that a lot of families, some of whom may be immigrants, some of whom where English is not their first language, is provided a guideline of how to get the services and how to access county help where they might not be able to. So it's really important. More and more of these centers are opening up. I'm very proud that I was appointed for a second term on that. I also wanted to mention that I was at the Shadelands Farmers Market on our Saturday Farmer Market, and helped honor them as the Farmers Growers Association in California voted them as the top in the state. I don't know what the parameters are, but we have a Saturday market that was voted top in the state by one of the organizations that makes those votes. And we have two great farmers markets. I think we are blessed with that, exactly. I was also at the Historic Car Show where I helped to provide some judging. I see that Andrea already left, which is disappointing because there were some of the most amazing cars that I've ever seen, and here they were right off of Ignacio Valley Road. Some cars as old as, there was like a Model A 1929 that was in gorgeous condition. When this comes around annually, next year, typically the weekend before Father's Day, I encourage everybody to just go by. It's free. There's music and food, and it's amazing. These are just amazing cars. So I provided, which I'm sure that the mayor will give her update, I provided her with my lone vote of what I thought. And lastly, I do want to talk about on one of the issues, the Senate bills that we've heard about for the last several months. It's Senate Bill 1031, and this was something as being a liaison as our representative on County Connection. This is involving transportation across the board. So we heard from Tim Hale, as the Mayor Pro Tem mentioned in our Civic Affairs meeting, but this would combine all of the public transit agencies that are County Connection, AC Transit, all of these local transit agencies into one, which truly would not be as efficient, even though it sounds like that would be efficient. It wouldn't be, and this was of real concern to all of the operators in the Bay Area. Anyway, this has been put on hold for at least a year. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about this in the year to come, but because it's been so top of mind, including an editorial in the newspaper just a few weeks ago, I did want to mention that it's been put on hold, and so that's my report.
Mr. Francois.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the pleasure of attending Borges Ranch Day, which was mentioned and part of the Open Space 50th anniversary celebration. I wanted to thank our staff who was out there working hard all day, Ranger Corey, our Public Works Director, Heather Ballinger, Mike Vickers was there as well. And it was just, I did see Councilmember Darling and her husband. I was there earlier in the day. It was just really a special, wonderful event with a lot of families and young children, pony rides, petting zoos. There was a band that was playing kind of folk music and bluegrass, and it was really, really wonderful to experience. So I'm hopeful that we can continue those types of activities and bring them back on a more regular basis. And what's remarkable is when you walk up to the ranch, just it really cements what a sacrifice and what a tradition and legacy we have from the folks who agreed to tax themselves 50 years ago to acquire that property, and it led to the restoration of the ranch. And you just feel like you're walking back in time when you see the hill-studded oaks and kind of this historic kind of cattle ranch, and right here in our own hometown. My other update is I serve on the Recycle Smart Board along with Councilmember Silva, and I serve on the Franchise Ad Hoc Committee to select a new franchisee for our contract, which will expire in 2027. So we did go out for bid for the post-collection, not the collection services, the trucks that come down your street. We're separating those and looking just at post-collection services now. We did receive several proposals for transfer and disposal, recycling, processing. So the ad hoc committee is in the process of, with our staff and consultant, of evaluating the proposals that we received, some of which differ somewhat widely on costs and distance to the facilities, and to the point where we will be refining and making a recommendation to the full Recycle Smart Board later on this year. And that's my update.
Thank you. I was inundated with transportation issues. The CCTA Planning Committee spent some time talking about trying to get Richmond, the city of Richmond, in a place where they can provide much more accessible transportation. They're spending a lot of money and not getting a lot of work done. I also attended TransPac, which is the sort of baby team that then goes up to CCTA. And we did some time looking at our future and approving allocations for Measure J funds TransPac has a special allocation for people who need rides because they're elderly or because they have challenges. I did go to the car show, and Councilmember Wilk did lobby hard for one particular car, but that I knew that car was already going to get a prize, so I chose my own car, and it was cute, and it had
Your car, is it a nice car, your car?
my car. Oh, no, not my car that I drive. The car I chose was all decked out, and it had a tray, and it was back, and it made me feel like the old days when there were car hops and things like that. And so I dedicated it to the Barbie year, and then was corrected because it wasn't pink, it was dusty rose. So it turns out everybody had an opinion. They got the award anyhow. The mayor's conference, of which I am the chair, had a meeting, and we heard from the library, the head of the library for the county, and I learned about programs that the library has that we really don't take advantage of, and we should. I'm the representative for the council on the DRAA board, and we talked about plans to improve the theater functioning, and of course, we're getting ready for the big event, which is on Broadway, which is their main fundraiser, and probably the ritziest thing happening in Walnut Creek. Then I went to CCTA, another version of transportation, and reheard a bunch of the things that I heard on the things on the way up, but we also did budgeting and other important things that keep the transportation department going, and that's it for me, unless I have something on the next page. Oh, no, I actually chaired a meeting of the Accessible Transportation Task Force, which was formed to have a one-click, one-ride for people who are challenged about getting from here to there. We talked about training for people who don't know about public transportation and making it less scary, and how to get people and how to get new automotive buses and things so that they don't have to get on 20 different buses to get to the hospital from where they go to. All right, that's the end of my report. And that puts us up to the public hearing. And that is a public hearing to conduct a public hearing pursuant to the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, TEFRA, and consider resolution approving the issuance of bonds by California Statewide Communities Development Authority for the benefit of John Muir Health. And I believe somebody's approaching the lectern even as we speak. Welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Angela Sway, Economic Development Manager. Tonight for the TEFRA, I'd like to introduce James Hamill of the CSCDA, who will give a brief overview of the bond issuance, and Michael Monaldo of John Muir is also available to answer questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I did mean to say that the public hearing is now open. So please go forward.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is James Hamill. I'm Managing Director with CSCDA, and a pleasure to be here tonight. As you saw in your staff report, this is a public hearing for the issuance of bonds for John Muir Health. They'll be doing a refinancing of some of their bonds that they issued through CSCDA previously. Also reimbursing themselves for the new cancer center here in Walnut Creek, and then also refinancing some bonds in the city of Concord. Concord will be conducting their own TEFRA hearing next week, and as the report outlines to you, there's no liability to the city. These are obligations of John Muir Health. They're not obligations of the city, the state, or ourselves, and they're directly for the hospital itself. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have on the project or the financing itself.
Do I have any questions? I believe not. Thank you. Does anybody else want to come forward? No? Okay. All righty. So I guess we need to bring it back to council.
Madam Mayor, we should close the public hearing first.
Oh, thank you. We're closing the public hearing. Thank you for the reminder. And we need to and do we ask for public comment?
Yes.
We ask for public comment, of which there appears to be none. So now I officially close it. And we take action to adopt the resolution.
Move to adopt the resolution approving the issuance of bonds by the California Statewide Communities Development Authority for the benefit of John Muir Health.
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Francois.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Darling.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilk.
Aye.
And Mayor Haskew.
Aye. It looks like it's a go. Thank you for coming. And thank you for all that John Muir does for our community. You guys are wonderful. All right, item 2 in the public comment category is to adopt resolutions confirming the assessment reports and levying annual assessments for the Tourism Business Improvement District for fiscal year 2025. Let me take a moment to explain the process for public hearing. In order for the city to levy assessments for the Tourist Business Improvement District, the city must first conduct a public hearing, at which time it must hear and consider all protests against the levy of assessments. If written protests are received from owners of businesses in the proposed area, which will pay 50% or more of the assessments proposed to be levied, and no further proceedings to the levy, the assessment shall be taken for a period of 1 year from the date of the finding of the majority protest by the city council. If there is no majority protest, then the council may adopt a resolution confirming the assessment report submitted. Written reports must be received by the city clerk at a time by the city clerk at or before the time fixed for the public hearing. At this time, we will now open the public hearing for the number 5B for the Tourism Business Improvement District. I invite anyone who has undelivered protests to present that to the city clerk immediately. There seems to be nobody to do that. Now, Angela, would you please make your presentation?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening again. Angela Sway, Economic Development Manager. As Mayor Haskew explained, this is the annual renewal of the Walnut Creek T-bid. The annual T-bid assessment is renewal is a two-step process. The first meeting was held on June 4th, at which a presentation was given. Tonight is the second meeting and the public hearing. So the recommended action is to adopt the resolution confirming the Walnut Creek T-bid annual assessment report for fiscal year 2023-2024 and levying the annual assessment for fiscal year 2025. Thank you.
Have there been any protests presented?
We have not received any protest.
Okay, then I think we've passed that part of the challenge, and we move on to, please. I guess we move on to public comment. I'm looking for public comment. No public comment, and I believe that brings this public hearing to a close. And now the council may make a recommendation.
I move to adopt the resolution confirming the Walnut Creek Tourism Bid Annual Assessment Report for FY 23-24 and levying the annual assessment for FY 24-25.
Madam Mayor, just for the record, this is the revised version that was included in the packet.
As revised.
Thank you.
All righty. I guess we need a roll call vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Darling.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva. Aye. Councilmember Francois.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilk.
Aye.
And Mayor Haskew.
As well, aye. All right. Thank goodness we finished that part of the meeting. Now we're on to consideration items, and we have a priorities update before us. Oh, CDBG. It's not on my list. Oh, here it is, yes. Here, yep, nope. All right, I apologize. I didn't see my list. So, Stephanie, you're here?
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Stephanie Brynan, Housing Manager for the City of Walnut Creek, and I am here tonight to talk about the CDBG Annual Action Plan and Fiscal Year 25 Grant Funding Plan for CDBG dollars. As you know, the City of Walnut Creek is an entitlement community under the Federal Community Development Block Grant Program and annually receives funds that must meet the federal objectives. The city therefore must submit an annual action plan to HUD to describe how the funds will be dispersed, and the proposed CDBG annual action plan describes that disbursement and implements the final year of our 2020 to 2025 consolidated plan. The CDBG program funding has incorporated minor adjustments based on changes to our funding allocations. The public services funding, as represented here, increases are determined based on previous year's adjustments, and the amounts the table represents changes from fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 25. So that would be small changes that are going towards empowered aging, Meals on Wheels, Echo Housing, and Rainbow Community Center. We also have funds available for economic development projects and for public infrastructure projects. Staff is currently recommending the releasing of an RFP to procure new programs to distribute those funds. We have approximately $222,000 available for an RFP. Staff recommends City Council adopt the resolution approving the fiscal year 24-25 annual action plan, including the proposed funding plan and allocation of CDBG, CSG, HSG, PLHA, Measure O, and general funds. If you have any questions.
Do we have questions?
I do. Thank you very much for all of this work. So the state budget has been rather in flux, and I think they're still grappling with it. Is there any risk of state funding are any of the state funds that we're relying on in this plan for the next year at risk?
The only state funds associated with the plan are the PLHA dollars, and I have not received any indication at all that those funds are at risk. But
so what do we do if something happens in the next 15 days? Something untoward happens in the next 15 days. There are a lot of things that will happen in the next 15 days.
Right. I would imagine then that we would probably come back to this council to discuss options on how to best fill in the details on the PLHA funds.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Hopefully we don't see you.
Yeah, I hope so.
And I did notice that one of the previous grantees was not on the list this year. I know we had challenges with them. Would they be able to come back in at a future opportunity? Okay.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to Echo Housing and the work they're doing with tenants, did they say anything to indicate to you that, I know with the eviction moratoriums under COVID going away, there was a lot of discussion about whether or not there would be more challenges in that space that they're working in, and the best way to keep people off the streets is to keep them in housing. Did Echo Housing ask for anything additional, or are they feeling good with what they've got right now?
Echo Housing hasn't asked for additional funds, although they have noted an increase in participation rates. And our partnership with Echo remains to be very strong, and they plus the partnership with Sheltering, because the two organizations working together have really helped support the renters after the eviction moratorium was lifted.
Okay, so that sounds good. It sounds like the program's working well. Thank you.
Yes.
Other questions? I don't have any other questions. I'm going to look for public comment. Magically enough, I'm not seeing any public comment. So I'm going to bring it back to council. And council, may I have an action?
move to adopt the resolution approving the 2024-2025 annual action plan, including the proposed FY25 funding plan and allocation for CDBG, CSG, HSG, PLHA, Measure O, and General Fund.
LMNOP, second.
You both had that memorized. May I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Darling?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilk?
Aye.
Councilmember Francois?
Aye.
Councilmember Silva?
Aye.
And Mayor Haskew.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Wonderfully. Okay, now, consideration. City Council priority updates for 2023, 2024. And hurry up, because we're running out of 2024.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, council members, members of the public, and staff. The item before you is the 2023-2024 council priorities update. The recommended action before you is to receive the report. Back in February of 2023, you all set these 5 priorities to be worked on for the next 2 calendar years, and we come together quarterly to update you on progress that's been made on your priorities. My presentation to you this evening will go through each of these priorities and the progress made since the last update, which was in February. And a list of all of the accomplishments and completed work is now on the website that details all of the work and finished work that's been done on your priorities thus far. And we'll be updating that quarterly as well. So as I go through each priority, I will pause for questions so we can focus on each priority and then move on to the next one. So the first priority is our diversity, equity, and inclusion, and this priority is really focused on continuing to build an inclusive community and a welcoming community in Walnut Creek, and there are 7 components to this priority, and I'll be walking through the highlights of this one. So in March, the council approved a contract with Ready Set, who will be helping us build and evaluate a comprehensive DEIB program, diversity, equity, inclusion and belonging program for our organization. They started with launching a survey in May, and they'll be providing foundational training for all of our new city staff and our new commissioners that have just been brought on board. And they're also working on a welcoming ordinance that will be coming to the council this summer. As part of the DEI priority, we wanted to diversify our city commission and committees pool of applicants that are coming in to potentially be on our commissions and committees. And we just finished our biannual recruitment process. And we're happy to report that this was the largest pool of applicants that we've had in the last 3 cycles. As you can see here, we had 49 applications for 12 open seats. We did this through expanding our outreach and really simplifying our application. And what we'll be doing is talking to the applicants, the folks who were seated on these commissions, and staff to really understand what barriers still exist for folks who are applying or maybe considering taking a position or maybe not considering taking a position, to work through some of those barriers. And our staff is also going to be working through research with other cities on how they've diversified their pools and gotten more diversity on their commissions and committees going forward. The city continues to offer cultural events and programs for the community. Right now at the Bedford Gallery is the Rediscovering Native America, Stories in Motion with the Red Road Project exhibition. It is on view until June 23rd, so go see it if you haven't seen it. It highlights contemporary narratives from indigenous individuals and communities across the country. It features 100 photographs accompanied by a selection of 3D artworks by acclaimed Native American artists. And June is Pride Month. Happy Pride, everybody. Our Arts and Rec department is putting on 6 events throughout June, including Yoga in the Park, Drag Queen Story Time and Crafts, Family Pride Pool Party at the Larkey Swim Center, Pet Pride Parade with Bixie here, as you see on the screen, print and flag making, and this Friday is Pride Night at Cabaret at the Lesher Center. Our Rising Tide is a group of employees that are focused on inclusion and belonging in our organization, so in the workplace. And they continue to move forward initiatives that advance inclusion across all of our city departments. We just welcomed 10 new staff members to that team. And that team is working with our Arts and Rec department to implement a sensory inclusive certification pilot at our Shadelands Arts Center. And this certification process is through Culture City, who is a national nonprofit organization that promotes sensory inclusion and acceptance for neurodivergent individuals with invisible disabilities. So this caters to folks who have sensory needs, including folks who are living with autism, PTSD, adults with dementia or Parkinson's disease, and effects from stroke. So far, we've trained and certified 75 staff, and we're putting together signage and preparing sensory kits, which include tools that might help the public who are having sensory overload needs when they're coming to our programs. And we'll also be evaluating this pilot to see if this would be appropriate to implement in our other facilities throughout the city. And the city continues to partner with our library staff to help amplify their outreach on special events and highlighting programs and displays that they have at the library. Most recently, an Asian Pacific Islander exhibit, and of course for Pride Month. And the city has also been highlighting the fact that we offer our libraries offer adult and children's books in Spanish and Chinese. We're one of the only libraries in the county that offers a Russian e-collection. And at the Ignacio Valley Library, we have a Spanish book club for adults that meets monthly and bilingual story times in Spanish and Mandarin. And with that, I will pause for questions.
Yes, Cindy.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the work on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I had a question about how we diversify those who apply for our commissions and those who actually are appointed to our commissions. So I assume some of the work you're going to be doing in terms of talking to other communities is to see how they get the application and the recruitment process to achieve that. But are we also going to look at what our age, gender, and cultural and ethnic diversity is in our community itself in order to align the two, or are we trying to be even broader than that?
I believe we're trying to align it with our community, and after the process was concluded, the recruitment process was concluded, we went back and asked folks for demographic information to understand the folks that were coming on board, to see if it was what our makeup was currently and if it was matching, so we knew where we were currently and where the gaps are that we need to look forward to in the next recruitment.
So are we going to be able to get that detail? Just at a broad picture.
I mean, we could at a future update, certainly.
Thank you.
Kevin?
I don't have a question so much as a comment. Sitting on the League of Cities Environmental Quality Policy Committee, the mayor chairing that for the last year is the mayor of Agoura Hills, city of Agoura Hills in Southern California. And she contacted me about 6 months ago about how they could raise a pride flag, because she'd heard that Walnut Creek had raised the pride flag and had a resolution for this. And so evidently we got certainly well outside of our boundaries. Well, through seeing what we had done, watching our meeting, and seeing the resolution that we put out, they raised the pride flag for the very first time last week. Even though there was some contentiousness about it doing in the area, they did it. She wanted me to know that, and I want to let the staff know. Thank you for all the work that you've done for these last several years on this. What we're doing is expanding beyond our own city and even region, and thank you very much.
Matt?
Thank you. Thank you, Carla, and the entire city staff for all the hard work on all our priorities. And on DEI, can you elaborate a little bit in terms of the recent training that's occurred and what we're projecting to occur in the future?
I'll leave that one to the city manager.
I can speak to that. Our HR director is home ill this evening, otherwise she would be here firsthand. But as you may recall, going back a few years ago, we contracted with an organization to provide training to all staff, council, and all of our commissioners. That was completed. We did a request for a proposal for a more comprehensive program that would not only include training, but would also evaluate the organization through a survey, look at our policies and practices, and that's Ready Set, who we're working with now. So we just completed, I think it was our first training with Ready Set for all of our new employees, I shouldn't say all, but many of our new employees that have started since the last time we did it, which is considerable. Our new commissioners, and eventually as new council members come on board, we would have that ongoing training. So that's the base level DEI training. We'll also be expanding with other subject matter area, and that will be informed in part by the survey as well as their assessment of the organization. So that's the ongoing effort, and in addition to training, they're looking to help us build out a program to assess our practices, our communications, some of our policies, procedures, where we might be able to be more inclusive and expand our approach.
And when we expand to those other subject matters, will that training be available for all of us, council, commissioners, staff?
I would say most likely. The intention, I don't exactly know what the subject matter is, but the intention to date, and I know the prior request and direction from council was to include council in our commissions in the training, so I would imagine we would do just that.
Thank you.
And I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I did hear from a number of the new commissioners that right away, one of the first things that they got was they got the training, and they said that really reflected well on the commitment that we have to making sure that we are a welcoming committee. And they felt they were happy to do it.
Ditto.
All right, moving on to our economic development and job creation priority. So this priority has 4 components, and again, I will be presenting the highlights of this one. First, with our Economic Development Action Plan. This is a 2-year plan with strategies to promote economic diversification, adapt to changes in office uses, and capitalize on Walnut Creek's economic strengths. This draft plan was presented to you last May, and since then, our staff has been working really diligently on achieving all of the different tasks in their work plan associated with the action plan. Some notable achievements: we've completed the annual renewals of the business improvement districts. We've began market research to develop economic development marketing materials to market the city to potential businesses, companies, et cetera. We've started initial outreach to the healthcare industry to discuss workforce development needs. We've also continued staff engagement with obviously our economic development division, our community development department, public works, and John Muir to really discuss future development expansion potential and plans. And then we've also participated in local and regional industry conferences and events, and continued quarterly partner meetings with the Chamber of Commerce, Walnut Creek Downtown, and Diablo Regional Arts Association. With permit streamlining, we are creating an easier and more efficient experience for our customers to get permits through our counter. We started with, in March, I believe we deployed our online portal where customers can upload plans electronically for review and confirm their inspection time online, so they don't have to call or come down to make sure that they have an inspection coming. We also put our pre-reviewed ADU plans on our website to make it easier for folks to understand the process and what they can build on their property when it comes to ADUs. We also did a lot of work on the design review process. We updated our residential and mixed-use objective design standards and objective zoning standards as well. We brought forward amendments to the city's design review process and roles of the Design Review Commission, all in an effort to streamline and clarify the design review process for development and to comply with state law. And the council adopted all of these changes last month in May. Our development services team continues to develop and is learning and practicing how to collaboratively problem solve and manage conflict or conflicting needs really on the team and with our customers. And the success of this team, as we all know, will improve understanding and ownership and really service delivery to our customers when they're coming in to do anything related to development. Staff is working on an implementation action plan to coordinate all of the various operations that are happening in our downtown, which include capital improvements, maintenance, streetscape improvements, public art, events, and then changes in businesses and those permitting processes, all to aid the vibrancy of our downtown. Staff anticipates completion of this draft plan in this fall. And we've also done a lot of work on our outdoor dining program. We're implementing outdoor dining as we speak with our restaurants, who will be receiving permits based on what their needs and wants are. So for permanent outdoor dining spaces, pods, or sidewalk dining, public and private patios, and parking lot dining. Any questions on the economic development priority?
Cindy Silva.
I barely move, and you know I want to talk. Thank you for the presentation on this. This is a rather robust arena of action steps. Can somebody give me a status on the work on Main and Locust Street and Bonanza of East Bay Mud and now the Central Sanitary District, so we know when the restaurants might be able to actually have outdoor dining again?
That's you, Rich.
I'm just going to try to think of a question so that every person in the audience has to stand up.
Good evening, Rich Payne, Public Works. The timing for the project on Locust, we just finished up the utilities on Locust, and the next step is to do some site work. We're going to be doing some concrete improvements. We've got some drainage in the gutters that we've got some isolated puddling that we're going to improve, along with some other repairs to some storm drain. And then we're going to go through and do a complete overlay, and that should happen it should start at the end of this month, and then it'll probably take a few months to complete that work. So our goal is to get this done before the fall.
So concrete work is the sidewalks?
Yes.
And overlay is the street?
Yes, thank you.
So wall to wall, everything's going to get touched, is what it sounds like.
Yes, we're going to complete facelift to the Locust Street area.
Great, thank you. So soon. All right, back to Carla.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So how many, do we have an expectation at this point of how many restaurants are interested in an outdoor dining program?
I thought you might ask, so I do have a few numbers. I have numbers by permit type, which is a little bit detailed to say out loud, but I'll summarize. So for sidewalk dining, we have 10 applications in, and they're at various stages. Either a permit's been issued or ready to be issued or being reviewed. For city patios, we have 7 applications. We have 3 pod applications, permanent outdoor dining structures, and then we have 10 applications for private patios. And staff does expect, once all the construction is complete downtown, more applications to come in when there's more certainty.
And this is all in the arena of downtown?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that? What was the first category?
Sidewalk dining.
Sidewalk dining.
Was it sidewalk? And then pods and then patios?
Yes.
For the sidewalks, sorry to get
There was
too
city plazas or something.
technical. They have to be a certain width, I assume, in order to accommodate sidewalk dining?
Sminar Boardman, engineering manager.
Good evening, Sminar Boardman, engineering services manager. So sorry, go ahead, your question.
So curious in terms of the sidewalk permits, do they have to be wider than the average width in order to accommodate that?
Sure. So our one requirement is that there's 6 feet of clear space. So we're really only talking about what's called the overlay zone, this downtown overlay zone. These downtown areas, we do have a lot of pedestrian traffic, so we're trying to make sure that we still meet that need. So just 6 feet clear. And so a lot of our sidewalks are actually 10 feet, and that includes around 2 feet of like a tree wall, or it could be a little wider depending. So sometimes we have some street furniture that's sort of on the curbside or on the other way, and sometimes we can move things around to accommodate these businesses so they can meet that 6 feet clear space. But there is a little bit of wiggle room as long as we meet ADA requirements. That's like our absolute minimum.
I'm thinking of some of the coffee shops who might not have the resources to apply for a full outdoor dining permit, but they could go this route in terms of sidewalk dining and maybe at least get a few tables and chairs, it sounds like.
Yeah, and there's some smaller tabletops that are, maybe 2 feet wide. So it's only room for 2 small seats, but it can be doable. It just really depends on the location.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I've got a question.
Okay, you want to go first?
I do, yes. That's why I pushed my button. When we were dealing with COVID and trying to get as much floor space that outside, the fire department was an interesting challenge. How are we working with the other utilities and fire department particularly about getting approvals for the people who want to go outside?
Sure. So I know the fire department was particularly challenging when we were talking about street closures. We're not really in that. We're not living in that environment anymore because we just have one very short street closure where there is still access available by fire. Everywhere else, fire still does have adequate access, or there's really no change. And then otherwise, other utilities have provided us with guidance or requirements for if there's any kind of additional fees associated with additional floor space, along with our chief building official.
Okay, well, what I was thinking about was the heaters and things and the smoke and that kinds of limitations that we also had to deal with.
Yeah, definitely. And the fire department did provide us with pretty direct feedback on that, along with our chief building official.
Yeah, and I would just add to that because it's been a while, probably jogging all of our memories. When we were in rebound during COVID, it was an emergency response type of circumstance in which each of the restaurants were effectively creating their own pods, and we were or their structures, and we were providing input, working with the other regulatory agencies to see what we could allow. As Smadar noted, now we've taken a methodical approach in terms of providing input on the design so that they meet all of the appropriate building standards.
Thank you. Yes, now.
Now my turn. I pushed my button. Thank you. And so thinking about this, I had a random conversation with one of the restaurateurs who was working on a pod, and he did say that the pod was coming out to be more expensive than he anticipated. And I was wondering if you're starting to hear that from folks. I see that only 3 pods are in the works. Do we have a sense on what's holding people back?
So there is a combination of issues. I think that from a cost perspective, we were pretty good about giving that information during some of the restaurant talks through Walnut Creek downtown, just sort of discussing what those preliminary cost estimates were going to be. But I do think a piece of this too is that we do have had pretty impactful construction in the downtown over the last year, and we did tell business owners, hey, please put a pause on any kind of ideas you might have for Locust, because whatever you think you might want to do, your sidewalk could be totally different. We could be making changes to the elevations. So we wanted to make sure that they didn't spend a bunch of money on a design that they couldn't actually construct. So that now that we have a path forward, we have sort of that date when we're going to be completed with the construction job on Locust. We're anticipating that there could be a couple more of interest.
And you haven't heard overwhelming, oh, these are too expensive, so we're not pursuing it? Or is it just something that we'll kind of grow into as we go through this?
I think it'll take time. In the past, we did have a parklet program, and there were 2 that were constructed, right? So this is a new program, and I know that there's a lot of interest in outdoor dining, but there's a lot of outdoor dining out there. It's just maybe not as obvious because it isn't in a parking space, or wasn't made of materials that were kind of off the cuff during COVID. So we're continuing to support these businesses with this program, and it's we'll see the numbers continue to pick up. But in the meantime, we're in this implementation phase of bringing people into the program so that they're in compliance.
Okay. Then I had one more question back on the permit streamlining. And since you're here and you're engineering now, with the turnover in engineering, have you guys looked at ways that you could encourage the engineering staff to work closely with the other development staff so that I know we're still using a lot of contract engineers, but as we bring in our new engineering staff, are you looking at ways to better integrate them into the decision-making and encourage flexibility, which is a fine trait for engineers to have?
Yeah, so I mean, what I'll say is that we do have some contract engineers, but it's really for specific types of work, reviewing retaining walls and some other kind of just really, really specific items. When it comes to more of the collaboration piece, we do have staff who works very closely with all the different divisions under development services. And we do have, I mean, the initiative was mentioned, the development services team that is developing. So yes, development engineering is part of that group, and we'll continue to be integrating all of these different divisions so that we can have really just clear, concise, consistent, and just efficient communication with developers or residents or really whoever needs assistance from city staff. That's really our goal.
And I know the Original Joe's folks gave a big shout out to the cooperation between economic development and engineering in figuring out a way through some things. And they really thought that you guys did a great job on that one. So pass that on.
Looking for more questions? Yes, please.
I want to go back to the accessory dwelling units very quickly. I think it's very exciting that we have these templates available for the public, but I'm not sure the public is universally aware of it. Is it possible for somebody to give us a presentation of what they look like and some samples here at City Council so we can get it on the regularly watched Walnut Creek TV show called the Walnut Creek City Council meeting, or maybe we have an on-camera, person who can do a TV show on them so that the public can see them, and I think it'd be great.
I'm getting head nods. Yes.
And I surprised them by saying that, so.
I see some wondering eyes, so I think we're ready to go on to an item next.
The next priority is environmental sustainability and climate action. You all adopted a sustainability action plan last July, so we're about a year into implementation. We've brought on a team to help implement this program and really spread the good news of sustainability throughout our organization. So we are looking through a lens of sustainability in all of our different operations. Since February, we've been implementing the communications plan that was developed that is really focused on delivering information to a broad range of audiences through 11 different mediums. And we're really focused on communication because out of the 21 strategies and hundreds of actions, 35 are dedicated to communication and outreach and getting people aware of what they can do to be more sustainable either in their homes or in their day-to-day life. So this is really a big focus of this team so far, is really creating awareness with the community. Moving forward to electric leaf blowers, good news is that our Public Works Department is in transition to using more electric leaf blowers. Currently, right now, downtown, unless there's an emergency, all leaf blowers are electric. And we expect to be fully transitioned next summer throughout the whole city. And then also, we began working with MCE. So it's Sustainability, Public Works, and MCE are working together on a strategic management program, Strategic Energy Management Program, SEM, which is a system of organizational practices and policies that create persistent energy savings throughout our facilities. So this is a 2-year program, and city staff will get technical training and analyses of energy efficiency in all of our largest municipal facilities. And MCE will be recommending low or no cost improvements so we can save energy and therefore save money. And participating in this program implements Strategy 2 of our Sustainability Action Plan. Available on the city's website is a action tracker that is tracking our near-term actions in the Sustainability Action Plan, of which there are 9. 6 have been implemented, and the work continues ongoing. 2 are in progress, and then 1 is an upcoming project. We wanted to make this available for the folks who are very interested in sustainability and what we're doing and how we're doing it. All of that is available online on the city's sustainability page. And with that, I will pause for questions for sustainability.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, and thanks for all your work on this. It's been fun to watch it come up out of the ground. So 350 Contra Costa Action had a number of things that they were encouraging us to do, and I was reading through that list and thinking we're probably doing many of these things because we're working through communication and helping people understand the different ways that they could move into electrification of their own house. Have you taken a look at what their comments were? And
Yes, we received the letter, and as we went through it, we did note some things that we are doing. So one of the first points of 5 that were made in the letter, educating the public on environmental and economic and safety benefits to replacing natural gas systems. We do this regularly through our outreach channels, our eco newsletter, our social media, our website content, and then our various tabling that we've been doing. About 1 every month, we are getting out into the community and talking to folks. And then we work closely with our partners on the benefit, creating awareness about the benefits of electrification, but also the rebates that are available for electrification, and connecting people to those benefits. The city doesn't offer direct benefits for electrification, but our partners do. So that's a lot of the awareness building that we're doing. And then we're going to be continuing, as I mentioned in the plan, a lot of this is education. And so we're going to be continuing doing that throughout the plan implementation. There was also some comments about educating the public about the Bay Area Air Quality Management District standards. Same thing, we're working directly with the management district on that and helping educate folks to understand what those standards are and when they're going to be coming into effect, so they can get ready for those. And then, yeah, as we went through the letter, we have several strategies throughout the plan that encourage electrification in buildings and our transportation sectors. One thing that we are watching is after the court decision involving Berkeley and their requirement of or banning of gas, essentially, and natural gas in buildings. We are watching that pretty closely and what our other fellow cities are doing. Our plan is written very broadly, so we can adapt our policy to meet whatever legal standard needs to be met. So we're taking a slow approach to how we're gonna, because in our plan we do, I believe we are implementing in 2026 water heaters. I'm gonna look at our sustainability manager. Some of this stuff I can't remember. 2026, yes, thumbs up, for water heaters. And so as we're thinking through this, we want to make sure that we're consistent with the law, state law and federal law.
Yeah, and I'm encouraged to see you working with the partners, because whenever you have a program like this where you're trying to change people's decision-making and you have MCE doing work and PG&E doing work and us doing work, and so the more that's coordinated into one effective message, I think that makes it, with the water use efficiency, that's what we found. With competing messages, it just gets lost and people get confused. But coordinating it and making it one seamless communication tool and same message is great.
Anybody else have a question? Matt, please.
So just maybe more of a comment question in terms of partnering with other agencies. Councilmember Silva and I serve on the Recycle Smart board, and there's the state and our local agencies are trying to comply with new laws for organic composting. So trying to keep as much as possible out of the black can and putting it into the blue can or the green can. And Recycle Smart has like a refrigerator magnet with a QR code that if you go to wherever the QR code leads you, you're interacting with, I assume it's some sort of AI, where you're texting, can I recycle this? And you put that information in and it says, yes, put it in the blue can or put it in the green can. Might be able, if we're able to kind of get that information available on our website or some of our city publications, it's a really easy resource. The magnets, I'm pretty sure, are free, so that everyone can have it on their fridge and make sure that they're putting, the right item in the right can.
That's a great idea. And our sustainability staff is taking notes.
Excellent.
Okay. Anything else? I see nothing. Have we run out of items? No.
No, we have 2 more.
Oh, boy.
Our parks, facilities, and other infrastructure priority is really focused on our 3 major Heather Farm Park projects that are going to be coming down the pipeline in the next 4+ years, all Measure O funded. Starting with the Heather Farks Aquatics and Community Center, the council gave staff some great direction back in March or April, call it spring, on architectural style of the building, pool specifications, and also made some decisions on the level of sustainability and emergency operations capability for the new community center. The community center will be built to LEED silver equivalent standards, so it won't be formally LEED certified, but will also support future battery storage. And then the building will also be upgraded to an operational emergency operations center for the future. Moving along to the lights at Tice Field, we will be installing lights to extend the use of those fields into the evening. Good news is the CEQA has been completed on this project, and we expect to be bidding it this summer with construction beginning in the fall. And the ball fields at Heather Farm Park we will be replacing natural turf with synthetic turf. The final conceptual design was presented to the Pros Commission in June, and we are projected to have a contract awarded in December of 2024 and anticipated to have this project completed by fall 2025. Questions?
Oh, gosh, Cindy Silva.
Thank you very much. A question about the lights at Tice. We are planning to accommodate them, but we're also looking at the ability to add pickleball courts at Tice. We are making sure that the lights are not going to conflict with where the pickleball courts might be located, right?
Good evening. For the record, Kevin Safian, Director of Arts and Recreation. These are 2 separate paths, right? There's the lights at the ball fields, and then to the extent that there would be or could be pickleball courts in the back corner there, those are not proposed to be lit. So the lights for the ball fields would be directed just at the ball fields.
But the lights that are going to be installed for the ball fields will not, the location of those lights will not preclude the locating of pickleball courts.
Correct. If the
There's enough
pickleball
room
courts
for
were
both?
correct, if the pickleball courts were to be developed there, they'd be developed separate and apart from where the ball field poles would be placed. Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. And last but not least,
our final priority is public safety and social wellness. And this priority integrates existing and new programs across these 5 areas. So again, I will present the highlights. The Walnut Creek was instrumental in developing and advocating for the A3 program, which is a crisis response program named to indicate that anyone in Contra Costa can access timely and appropriate behavioral crisis services anytime and anywhere. The center operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the program receives about 400 calls and sends about 50 clinicians and law enforcement when necessary, with an average response time of about 20 minutes in our county. One big milestone of late is the program deployed a data dashboard on their website to really understand and see all of the data that is being created by the A3 program. So this is calls for service, this is response times, this is how many times clinicians have to be deployed, and the contact that they're making. It's also broken down by city. So this is all available on the A3 website. The Walnut Creek Police Department manages and participates in several programs, including the Regional Crisis Intervention Team, the CORE Team, and the Homeless Outreach Program Team. These are all programs that are dedicated to responding to mental health challenges and connecting residents who are experiencing homelessness with services. And as these challenges overlap, these programs aim to address these issues in a holistic way. These programs are well established and fully integrated into city operations. So this might be the last time I talk about this, but it's a good reminder that we are addressing mental health and homelessness in a holistic way, and it is in part of our city operations now. So that is the update for that. We're doing it. Our police department is installing technology that will be providing real-time analysis of crime trends to support staff as they direct law enforcement resources. This is expected to be deployed this summer, and it will accelerate decision-making, enhance our investigation capabilities, and streamline our analyses to really create some data-driven outcomes when it comes to crime trends. Also this summer, the police department will be implementing a traffic safety plan that's designed to focus on DUIs, speed enforcement, and pedestrian safety. And then the department will also be conducting driver education and safe driving campaigns over its social media. The department continues to build partnerships and relationships with the community, a lot through Coffee with a Cop events. A couple happen downtown, and more are planned for different areas of the city, including the north and east areas. The police department also participated in an event with coffee and cars at Las Lomas High School recently. And then just, I think last week, participated in an emergency evacuation presentation in Rossmore to help guide how law enforcement aids in evacuation in emergency situations in that community. Regarding fostering a modern and healthy police culture, the city's ABLE program that we presented on in depth in February, this training continues and has been added as part of the new hire onboarding training for the police department, and we'll have refresher courses coming later this year for all folks in the police department. Also presented in February was a community engagement tool that allows the department to collect anonymous feedback about officer interactions. To date, 1,200 responses have been received, and these responses will help improve trainings and policies and procedures. And the department plans to share this feedback with the community through its public data portal on its website. The city is working to improve traffic, transit, and pedestrian and bike safety with providing a way for all residents to get to their destination safely. And we're doing that project by incorporating traffic safety elements into the North Wiggett Lane and Locust Street rehabilitation projects and the 2024 Slurry Seal project. Some features in these projects include bulb outs, striping, improved crosswalks, reduced travel lane widths, and bikeway protection where it is appropriate. I will pause there for questions.
It's a lot of information to absorb. Councilmember Silva?
Thank you. On the A3 program, you mentioned the number of calls that the call center is receiving. It's 400, and I didn't hear whether you said per day, per week, per month. I don't think it's per year.
I believe that's per week.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. This is a lot to kind of like think through. I'm really glad the response system so that people can provide their feedback on policing. I know at one point in time we were talking about whether or not the body-worn camera videos were going to be sampled. and audited to see, to add another loop to that. And I was wondering, and because none of the police officers have gotten to get up yet, I thought I might ask that question. And
Police Chief Jamie Knox.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Jamie Knox, Chief of Police. Currently, we do have an audit program in place for the body-worn cameras where supervisors conduct spot checks of their direct reports to review random calls for service. We have some parameters that we've established so that we don't choose videos that are too short or too lengthy. And that's one element of the audit process.
Okay. Overall, you feel like the body-worn cameras are working well, and whatever bug this is going to...
Yes, I think it was a considerable investment financially, but I think it's paid us back tenfold. Anecdotally, there's studies that suggest that your citizen complaint numbers will come down as a result of having the body-worn cameras, and we've proven time and time again that they often help us investigate complaints and get to the bottom of things very quickly when we have that video.
Okay, thank you.
If I could just follow up on that. There was a national high-profile stop where the officer forgot to turn on his body camera or didn't, and that was a big issue. How does that work here when police officers make a stop? Are they manually turning that on? Does it automatically come on? How does that work?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that the body camera can activate. Most common way is for the officer or the employees. We have some of our professional staff that wear them who work out in the field, like our parking enforcement. So they just manually activate the camera, but then we have technology integrated into the vehicles and on the officer's duty belt if a taser's pulled or they turn all of their police lights on the car, the body camera comes on automatically.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
I think you nailed it. Thank you. Wait, oh, no.
Thank you. You know the answer to this question because I asked you it in an email last week. There was an article about San Francisco putting in the automated license plate reader technology in the city. They were talking about 300 cameras and how they were finding that they were of value in not only finding suspects of crimes that occurred in San Francisco, but also in other communities. Do we have that technology here? Not 300, I would assume. We're not as big as San Francisco. And how is it working?
Yes, we do have that technology. It's working well. We're looking to expand that technology very soon. So we currently have about 33 cameras in the city with about 8 different intersections covered. We have done a study and we found that that's inadequate, so we'll be moving forward with an RFP relatively quickly to acquire some new technology for some strategic locations throughout the city. And yes, it's an invaluable tool at solving crime.
Strategic locations like Ignatia Valley Road and the entrance to the freeway. I mean, what's a strategic location without giving away trade secrets?
Yeah, we don't want to give away all of our secrets, but typically we're looking for points of ingress and egress through high crime areas, maybe hot spots. Broadway Plaza is certainly a hot spot for retail crime. So that's an area that we would like to shore up a bit.
Okay, thank you.
If you hurry, you can get away.
Okay, I'm going to hurry and get away.
All right.
Last item, not a priority, but not a shortage of work around housing element implementation. So a few things of note. The city has applied for a pro-housing designation, and we're waiting to hear back from the California Department of Housing and Community Development. Being designated as a pro-housing city at the state level comes with funding incentives and additional resources to speed up housing development. And then our housing staff is working to improve and implement a new affordable housing process where it's a formal process where developers can apply for housing funds. Before it was kind of a first come, first served basis. So we'll be implementing this new process in the fall to make it a little bit more transparent and a little bit more, it'll be based on an RFP, based on proposals, et cetera. So that's coming in the fall. questions. That's the end. Truly, that's the end.
Okay, I've got a question, which is, have there been any kind of statistics on housing and whether, as things are going, we're getting some positive development? I know we're still waiting for the one on Civic for the low-income housing. So is anything helping make the
Erica
housing happy?
Vandenbrand, Community Development Director.
It's Erica's turn, but she's limping to the microphone. Oh, my.
It's all the hard work on the housing element. It's late in the evening. So Erica Vandenbrand, Community Development Director. I guess the answer to your question depends on since when are we counting. And since the housing element was just, officially accepted by the state last October, if we start counting from then, it's a little bit difficult to say, okay, we have X number of units and so forth. However, we do have a number in the pipeline, and that is due to not only, the work that staff has done, but all of you as council members and making it a lot easier to have housing here within the community. So as was noted earlier, there is the ADU and the previewed ADU, plans, and then there's Toyota Walnut Creek, and as just two examples, and there are a number of different projects in the pipeline, also inclusive of 699 YVR, and should the city receive the pro-housing designation, that would give substantial additional points to that project to make it eligible to go across the line for state funding, presuming, of course, there continues to be state funding.
Yeah, with their budget issues. Thank you. Anybody, while we've got Erica here?
Just a quick one. Do we know what the status is on the cottages out at the church?
Grace Presbyterian.
Grace Presbyterian.
So they're in progress. That is what I know. I haven't been invited to a second ribbon cutting yet. So that's sort of the when it becomes real, I guess.
Okay, thanks.
Speaking of funding, one of our big projects in 2022 was the passage of Measure O, the sales tax measure, and it's generating about $12 million in additional funds each year. And a good portion of those are actually being allocated toward these priorities. Can the city manager elaborate on that a bit and how important those funds are?
Certainly. Just to fine tune that a little bit, we had projected about $12.5 million annually for this current fiscal year, which is the first full year. It's actually a little bit lighter, probably about $12.3 million. Of that, your council either allocated or reserved about $11.5 million directly towards the council priorities, which not surprisingly align with the feedback that was received from the community when we did outreach to Measure O. So there were priorities from the community. Your council aligned your priorities for the city and the organization around that feedback, and then Measure O was used to support those efforts. So there are programs or projects in every one of these categories that are being funded by Measure O.
Anyone else before we wrap this up? I believe our instructions were that we just need to receive the information. Is there? Oh, and yes, of course, I'll do public comment. Everybody. Well, and they all work for us, so it's really hard to encourage them. And we haven't come up with enough questions to get everybody in the room for it. If you haven't had a question, we'll make up one if you want to come forward. So public comment is closed, and that takes us to the end. And do we have any more questions or comments, or are we just going to say, yes, we received the information and thank you? It is very clear the staff has taken our priorities very seriously and have been diligent and creative and absolutely stunning in their commitment to keeping this city a very special place. So thank you very much. Does anybody else want to add to that?
Ditto.
Thank you very much. City manager on down, and bottom people on up, and everybody in the middle. All right, so we're up to the sadder part of the meeting, which is the adjournment in honor of our former council member, Charlie Abrams. We are closing this evening's city council meeting in memory of former Mayor Charlie Abrams, who passed away on June 3rd at the age of 83. Charlie, with his wife Janet and their 3 sons, moved to Walnut Creek from Washington, D.C. in 1979, and the family quickly became fixtures in the local community. Over the years, Charlie actively supported his sons in athletic and musical passions and served as a Little League coach, soccer referee, football and Northgate Parents and Booster Club volunteer, and board member of the Walnut Creek Fountain for Youth Foundation. He was a licensed engineer, civil, and registered traffic engineer. He started his business as Abrams Associates in 1985, a local traffic engineering and transportation planning consultancy. For the next 30 years, Charlie was actively engaged in Walnut Creek business community, and he served a number of years on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. Charlie began his civic career by volunteering in the late 1980s for 2 of our city's commissions, first the Transportation Commission and then the Planning Commission. In 1995, Charlie was elected to his first of 3 terms on the Walnut Creek City Council. Over his 12 years on the council, he served 2 times as mayor, first in the year 2000 and again in the year 2004. While a council member, Charlie played a significant role on the County Transportation Authority, and he twice chaired that board as well. If you asked Charlie to list his civic projects that made him most proud, he would undoubtedly point to transportation improvements such as the new Benicia Bridge that opened in 2007, the widening of Highway 4 between Martinez and Hercules, and the Iron Horse Trail crossing Ignacio Valley Road. Charlie would also talk about the Veterans Memorial Plaza, where we now commemorate Memorial Day each year, and he is sure to mention the downtown Walnut Creek Library, which broke ground during his last year on the council. For decades, Charlie was a driving force, not only in Walnut Creek, but for the whole Contra Costa region. He will be greatly missed, but his legacy will live on through his work. And with that, we adjourn the meeting, and we'll see you in July.